Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to this month's webinar, How to Increase Parent Participation with Digital Engagement. I'm Rhea O'Connor, and today I'm joined by our special guest, Gary Tuch from Simply After School. Gary, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Rhea. I am the Operations Director for Simply After School. We help schools manage their online enrollment and registration with an easy-to-use platform named Simply After School, and I'm very excited to share my experience in this area.
Great, so let's quickly go over what we're going to cover today. First, we're going to talk about why a strong digital presence matters to parents. Next, we'll talk about the differences between an effective and poor digital experience for parents and how that can affect overall participation. And lastly, we'll go over 8 tips that you can start today to start increasing parent participation this back-to-school season. So why digital engagement? Well, the snapshot that I'm about to show you will make it pretty clear that parents are online. I hear a lot of school PR folks refer to their district as a brand, and if your brand isn't online, it's missing out. According to Retailing Today, 81% of shoppers conduct online research before making a big purchase. The same goes for choosing a school district. If you don't have a positive online brand and parents don't like what they see, you may be driving them away. Your district's online brand is important for attracting parents in the first place. Of the $75 billion that families spend this back-to-school season, a third of that will be spent online. So it's something to consider when you're asking parents to contribute. Are you engaging with them online? Are you allowing a path for them to contribute digitally? And mothers in the US are spending about 3.5 hours per day online. And many of us already know this, but in a lot of households, moms are the ones making the purchase decisions. And then lastly, parents in general are just spending more time online, 75% more actually versus non-parents. So basically what we're trying to say is that your parents are online and it's important that you're meeting them where they're at. So next we'll talk about a bad versus a good parent experience and what that might look like. First we're going to look at websites real quick. This one on the left, you'll see there's a lot going on, lots of pictures, links. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do. Parents are not likely to spend the extra time or effort trying to figure out how to navigate your website. The example on the right shows a much cleaner design. It's easier on the eyes. You see a short menu of links and a clear call to action. We'll talk more on that later. Next, we'll look at mobile engagement. Now here I showed kind of an extreme example. I hope that none of you would call a parent 10 times asking them to volunteer. But it just illustrates how a phone call and voicemail may be ineffective. Many millennial-aged parents are not keen on listening to their voicemail. So if you want to try with a phone call, I would say go for it. But if it proves to be ineffective, try shooting them a text. That way the parent can be more easily respond if they're in the middle of something and unable to pick up their phone. Another example is something that I just heard today, actually. My colleague just told me that he heard of a way to donate to Hurricane Harvey by just texting a number. He said it was so easy that he couldn't refuse. So an example here might be consider sending out a text with a link with a simple ask. You know, maybe you say, click here to donate $20 to the school district. And lastly, registration. With so much going digital, paper registration can really be a drag. It might require a parent to actually print, mail, and include a check. And I can tell you that a majority of households no longer have printers. Many of them don't have the mailing items readily available. You know, they might have to dig for a stamp somewhere. And if you're like me, you had to buy your first checkbook in 10 years because your daycare worker won't use PayPal. I mean, seriously, a lot of people just aren't using checks now that there's online billing. There's some other bonuses to online registration that we'll go over later, but just to give you an idea, you know, you can include a link to it in various places. It's cleaner, and studies show that people are more likely to spend more if they can do so on their credit card. So now that we've covered the differences between a positive and negative experience, I'm going to hand this over to Gary to go over the next few slides.
Thanks, Rhea. So the first tip is we're going to want to replace paper with emails. So the idea is that you're trying to connect with somebody. How do you connect with them? You need to go to where they are. So you need to utilize your current student information system and make sure that you add email as a required field if it isn't already. Ask teachers to collect and provide emails, ask parent organizations like PTOs, PTAs, PFAs, and make sure collected emails are added to your SIS. Now, it's very important because this is how you're going to be able to interact with them quickly, easily, and in a very cost-effective way. And you're also able to send them consistent reminders that just don't work. If you were to do it with paper. So it also guarantees that your information gets to the right place. If you send a flyer home with kids, a lot of time it ends up crumpled up. It's somehow always wet when it gets to the parents. So you're not easily able to get information to the right place. Emails guarantee that because the parents are usually on their phone or they're in front of their emails when they're at work. So you have a much higher percentage of actually getting it to the right place. And it also creates a culture of communication. So when it comes to emails, it also is going to allow you to have easy two-way communication. If you send an email to somebody, they could email you right back and you get instant feedback. It's not something that's possible if you have a paper flyer or paper registration form. And it's going to allow parents to quickly and easily tell you what's going on so that you can make adjustments and also so you can know what you're doing right. Two very important things. The next tip is to streamline your policies. So streamlining your policies when it comes to online enrollment or online registration is you want to have a strict registration deadline. It might be counterintuitive. It might sound counterintuitive to tell parents you need to do something by this time or else the boat sails if you're looking for parent volunteers or if you're looking for after-school class signups. But studies have actually shown when you put a deadline in place, people don't procrastinate for as much, for as long a period of time. And when you do put that deadline, you're going to start to see that parents rush to get their names signed up or registered for a program because they know that there is actually negative consequences for not following that policy. The next policy that you would want to consider changing is a single registration process. So whether you're looking for parent volunteers, enrolling in a class, enrolling for a workshop, or for a field trip, make sure there's one way for parents to do it. The worst thing you can do is to accept paper registration or paper enrollment or sent just from a random email. Collect everything in a single form or registration platform. It's going to ease admin time and it's going to save you a lot in the long run because you're going to be organized and there's going to be a lot less human error and nothing could fall through the cracks. The next policy that we're going to want to look at is limit payment options. If it's something that you are collecting money for, limit the payment options to, I personally think, and studies show, credit card is the best. Payment option, parents are more readily available to actually pay you right then and there and not accept cash and not accept checks or wire transfers or anything else. And what these three policies really do is it creates a single funnel for your parents to come through. So whoever is in charge of enrolling parents or registering parents can actually see what's happening and not have to work around any of these weird instances of a lost check or missing cash or the wrong amount or a bounce check or anything else like that. And the last policy that we'll look at is limit the payment types. So you don't want to have 500 different options in the sense of pay up front, pay $1 a month, pay $2 a month, pay $3 every week. Limit how and when parents can pay. meaning they could come online, they have to pay for it upfront, or it's going to be in 2 monthly billing cycles. Don't start giving multiple different subscription options to parents, because you're going to end up losing money, and it's going to be difficult to follow up with the parents and start running after them for invoices and balances that they have due. And then pay to play. So this is probably one of the most important things. Obviously, it doesn't have to do with enrolling parents for volunteer, but if you're accepting money for something and parents have to register and pay, one of the most important policies is they have to pay if they want to play. So if they want to be a part of the program, if they want their registration to count and to actually be on the roster or the list, they have to pay beforehand. One of the biggest issues that schools have when it comes to payments is following up with parents. It's one of the biggest time eaters in the accounting department, and it's easily solved by just saying, if you want to participate, you have to pay beforehand. Move to online registration. It's the simplest and the quickest way of capturing parent data and capturing the information you need. It's also a better experience for parents. So if you want your school to be a brand, not only does your website need to be pleasing to look at and functional for parents to get through, parents need to interact with you in a very pleasant way. Think about going to any business if their employees aren't interacting with you in a nice way, or if their website's not working with you in a nice way and you have to spend hours and hours and hours on it, they're not going to like you and they're not going to want to stick with you. That's why nobody likes the IRS, right? It's a pain to call in, it's a pain to use their online website. It also reduces human error by quite a bit. When you automate collecting data, you don't have to worry about somebody copying, pasting emails, copying and pasting phone numbers. It really cuts down on any issues that you might have that come about with human error. It also saves administrative time. Usually, whenever you're doing some type of an online enrollment process, it's something on the side of whoever is running it, meaning it's not their full-time job. So if they're spending time sifting through paper registration forms or enrollment forms or emails, they're actually being taken away from the job that they were paid to do, which means they can't do it as well. So by saving administrative time, you run your organization in a much more effective way. And it's also proven to increase sign-up. So as Rhea was talking about, sending out a text message saying, can you donate? I'm sure that they have an increase in donations because they made it easy, because they digitized that payment process and that registration process. Studies show that when you make it more convenient, when you make it on demand, you will get a better return on your enrollment and on your registration. And it helps scale your program. So if you're looking for 10 volunteers this session, or to book 10 classes this session, and next session 20 and 30 and 40, going online allows you to easily and quickly scale to provide parents with the opportunities that they're looking for. So as you grow your families in the community, you're going to need more volunteers or more programs to offer them. By being online, it allows you to quickly and easily do that without adding extra admin time. So here's a real quick case study for online registration. It was the Willows Community School. So prior to implementing Simply After School, they were doing everything by paper. So they were running classes, about 40 classes a week, all paper registration. And the problems that they were having are they're unable to track payments, they're unable to track refunds, and they're unable to track rosters in an efficient way. So all of that, spells big time issues. Once they implemented Simply After School, meaning a online registration platform, they reduced the amount of staff running the program. They had an IT person, they had an accounting person, they had a marketing person, they had the IT person. So they had many people running these programs. They were able to reduce it to one person. They fully automated payments and refunds. so that hours weren't spent on this. Parents were very happy about that, and they fully automated roster management, which meant that there was no student registration forms falling in between the cracks, and parents were 100% notified of all the class details, and it allowed the Willows to communicate well with parents, and parents to communicate well with the school. Another case study for online registration, the previous one was a school that already had a big program. Parkham Hillel never ran an after-school program. It was something that the parents were asking for. You could also take this as parents are at you've never run a volunteer program, or parents volunteering to be in the classroom, or you have a fundraiser coming up. So this would be a good example of that. You've never done it before. And one of the problems with not doing something before is you don't have the infrastructure to manage the programs, and you don't know where to start. So when you start from scratch, you usually make a lot of mistakes and a lot of errors. Once they implemented Simply After School, aka a registration platform, they were able to quickly build an infrastructure. They were able to quickly scale up to offer 30 different programs for parents after school. And they were also able to streamline and just allow one person to manage their programs, which has been hugely successful. And again, it all goes back to the parents being happy. So the reason that you're doing these things is you want happy parents. Happy parents will stay with the school. They're going to stay with the district. And you're going to get referrals for other parents, and they're going to keep their kids coming for many, many years. And it's very important to think of it like a brand, like a company, because that's why you're doing all these things. And at the end of the day, a happy parent means a happy school, and moving online just does that for you. And then really quick, we'll run through testing your registration process. So we'll bring all the items up on the slide, and we'll just, first, do you offer online registrations for volunteering programs? The mistake is you only offer paper registration. So get online, that's the first thing. Can you get to your registration page in 1 to 2 clicks? If you can't do that, you've made a mistake. And before you publish things, before you send out an email to parents, actually click on the buttons. It does happen in the world of tech that buttons don't work sometimes, so you want to make sure you take care of that prior to parents actually going online. Can you access your registration via phone, tablet, and computer? Can parents enroll and volunteer off their phone, like Rhea's example of paying for the disaster relief fund? Can they do it on their computer? Is it on demand? Is it 24/7? These are the things that you need to be able to do. And the mistake is not actually viewing your registration process on these devices. Just because it looks good on your computer doesn't mean it looks good on your phone. And the last thing is to actually go through the registration. So can you successfully register? And the big mistake is not actually doing a test run, registering for or volunteering for a program, making sure all the right data comes through and you get all the right notifications. If you don't do these 4 steps, even if you go online, you're going to get a bunch of phone calls from parents saying, how do you do this? How did this work? Or this isn't working, and that's not really where you want to be. You want the technology to help and make your life easier. So make sure you test your registration process.
Great, thanks, Gary. So I know that not all of you have the ability to make changes on your website, but I just wanted to quickly point out a few things to do if you are able. First is to tell your district story through imagery. Use pictures of students, parents, and staff. As Gary had mentioned, try looking at this on your mobile device. Does it shrink to fit the screen? If not, the majority of parents who are doing this, navigating on a mobile device will be having trouble navigating it. Don't offer too many options to click on. Instead, pick a few of your favorite call to actions. In this example on the right, you'll see that they picked a donate and volunteer, and they made the call to actions really clear. Share success stories on your site. Making parents feel part of the district is going to make them want to participate more. If they know that they might be featured on the website, that could be a really positive experience. And lastly, your website can be a great place to drive parents to find information. So make sure it's easy to find. Don't make them dig too deep for important info. Engage on social media. So 79% of parents use social media to get useful information. So share it. Your post should reflect your organization's mission. You can test out different messaging, see if parents are reacting more to photos of kids learning in the classroom, maybe an event that you have coming up, or share a story about how a program impacted a family, and just kind of test out that messaging and see what the response is from your parents, and then share more of what they like. Facebook also has a really cool feature where you can create events on your Facebook page, and then furthermore, you can actually encourage parents to mark the interested button. It's non-binding, and by doing that, it'll actually share it on their timeline as well, so that their friends will see the event, and seeing that they're interested might get them interested, and more parents equals more participation. And then this is also an opportunity for you to include a link to your registration page. Share videos of events. You could share videos, and if you have something coming up, for example, maybe share a video of past events that you've had. It could get parents excited about what's coming up and make them want to get involved. Interact with your parents. Make sure that you're commenting, liking, and reacting to their posts as well. And then always answer questions promptly. Next, refine your emails. Mass emails are great if you want to market to a large group, but make sure that you're also sending more personalized ones that are asking for specific things. In this example, I complimented someone's efforts from last year, and I made a single ask, will you volunteer for the open house? Or consider pairing someone with something that fits their unique qualifications. If you have a mom, for example, maybe she works in marketing during the day, consider asking her to help out with the email newsletter. Use a compelling subject line. Half the battle is getting that open. If parents don't open your email, they don't see it. So using a subject line that is interesting will get them in. Keep the copy concise. According to HubSpot, 50 to 100 to 25 words is the sweet spot. No more, no less. And always finish with an ask. Make your call to action really clear, and if you have the ability to insert a button, that's great. Digitize marketing materials. That's right, this is where Peachjar jumps in. If you aren't already using Peachjar, consider switching from paper to digital flyers. It works really well with the digital registration that we were talking about, and those flyers don't get lost, and they go directly to the parents. It reduces staff time by eliminating papers. And you can also add call to action buttons, which makes it really easy for parents to take action on the information you're sending home. There's a great opportunity to link that online registration we were talking about. You can include buttons such as learn more, sign up now, call, or download the app. Digital flyers will also show you metrics, which allows you to track your results and make improvements. We hear of a lot of districts actually using Peachjar as part of their KPIs. And if you need another reason, well, it's the environmentally responsible thing to do. So last, I'll go over the best way to figure out what parents want is to ask. So surveying class parents is a great opportunity to get feedback. You can use a free online tool like SurveyMonkey. In this example, I just threw out a couple questions there, like rate the following from interest, highest to lowest, and which opportunities would you be more interested in, and then just to make sure that you're sharing those results and then creating opportunities of interest based on those. The parents will be happy that you listened. So in closing, the bottom line is to create multiple touch points where you ask parents to get involved. By moving your signups online, you can drive parents to them on your website, on your social media pages, via an email, or by digital flyer. Thanks everyone for joining us today, and thanks for our friends at Simply After School. A follow-up email will go out tomorrow with a link to the slides and a recording, along with our contact information. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And then at this point, we will go into our Q&A portion. So I see a couple questions here. I'm going to pull them up. All right. What are recommended online payment processing systems that take the smallest transaction fees? Are there better payment processing systems for nonprofits? For example, PTA with nonprofit status. Gary, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So just about all online credit card processing companies will give you a nonprofit discount. There's two important things to know. What types of payments are you collecting? And then is it tied to something else? So is somebody buying something, or is it just a donation? Usually you want to match up a credit card processor with some type of a software that's going to help you to achieve that. So if it's collecting donations, you want to make sure that you use some type of software that will actually manage the donation. So you'll have a donor list, so you can reach out to them next year or next month when you run your next campaign. If it's for class registration, you want to use something like Simply After School. If it's something that is just kind of one-off payments that you're charging parents randomly, yeah, you could find really anything. Stripe's really good. PayPal's good depending on what the internal infrastructure is. So I guess the bullet points are, yes, most companies offer you some type of a nonprofit discount. Look for companies that don't require a 2 to 3 week approval process. If they do that, that usually means that their technology is a bit outdated and you're going to have to pay for it in the long run. And also, nowadays, you should not have to pay a monthly fee to use a credit card processor. So if they have those two things, kind of steer clear from them. If you want, you could send me an email with some companies you're looking at, and I'd be happy to give you my feedback on them.
Thanks, Gary. So next up, does PeachJar offer online registration too, similar to Volunteer Spot? We were offering an online registration. We are currently now we're partnering with Simply After School with Gary to use their online registration. So you could register and use Simply After School, and then when you send a flyer through PeachJar, you can use your online registration link in one of the call to actions. For example, you could add the button that says sign up now, and you could put a link to your Simply After School registration link. Okay, next up, the district technology department is the one that updates the emails for parents. Should this be done 3 times per year or more? It really depends on how well your email database is. If you already have, at least a 1-to-1 ratio, student to parent ratio, then updating, definitely back to school time, doing it then is a great time to make sure that you're updating again. If you have less than a 1-to-1 student to parent email ratio, then I do suggest, trying at different points throughout the year to try to gather those email addresses. As we were mentioning, one of the great ways is we've learned that a lot of the teachers tend to actually have those email addresses. So if you communicate to them maybe what is the need to have the email addresses, you might be able to actually collect them from the teachers as well, and then putting those into your SIS. Are there any other questions? All right, well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Like I said, I will send out an email tomorrow. If you think of any questions during that time, please don't hesitate to ask. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Rhea.
Thank you, Gary.